Hello again, everybody. Welcome back, and thank you for your view. This is going to be part 2 of the Earth element, and really all its purpose is to follow up with part 1, where we discussed what that we do with the earth and how we should be respecting the earth and how we do relate to it on an energetic and spiritual level, and how we take the life that it provides and put it into us in the form of food. Now I'm going to essentially get into all the bad and how we don't do any of that at all, and possibly at the end some solutions as to how we can improve our relationship with the earth from here. So let's jump in, you guys. Now, it should not be a mind-blowing statement to say that we have turned our earth into a chemical wasteland largely for profit, and we continue to sustain it like this because, well, large companies, particularly the food industry, can depend on us to be pretty much ignorant to all this as long as they cow us and satisfy our most basic human needs, or really our desire to seek pleasure and immediate gratification, such as eating sweets or eating processed foods that give us a sense of comfort but completely deny us of any true nourishment or fulfillment or any life. I talked previously in the last video about how we don't have any respect for the water, but one of our most egregious offenses upon our planet is truly to its soil, particularly an action that we have been taking ever since the industrial era. This culture, this practice rather, was known as monoculture. It still is. We essentially will remove every single other kind of organism from a certain plot of land and have only one plant there, and that is the only plant that will be grown in that plot. What this was done intentionally for was to create more yield, because it lets the farmers focus on this one plant only and creating more of that plant. However, in order to yield more profits, and ultimately that's what their intention was, they were willing to wipe out the entire biodiversity of the soil, and this simply won't stand. It appears that much like a human being and much like every other thing in nature, we don't exist on an island all to ourselves. There's a huge amount of organisms, fungi, bacteria, beetles, worms that all exist together, working together to maintain the quality of the soil, to churn it, to add nutrients to it, to add vitamins, minerals, things that the bacteria in our gut do for us. That's an equally diverse ecosystem. And what we have done for the sake of profit is we have decided to eliminate all of that and essentially isolate each and every one of the plants to themselves. This is honestly just another example of our focus on parts and trying to focus on any one part and take away the entire whole, and trying to stick each and every one of those parts together, kind of like a machine, when nature does not work that way. Nature is meant to work as a big functioning unit of many things all working together, but that is not how capitalists see it, unfortunately. And much like when it comes to medicine or really any other problem in our world that we are currently facing today, when you try to do something bad and then you have repercussions because you did something that was against the natural flow, what a lot of us will try to do is do another thing that is bad. For example, because all of this monoculturing isolated all of the crops to each other and had only themselves, not only does this completely destroy the soil, but on top of that, it makes each of those crops susceptible to more weeds and pests. And these weeds and herbs, these pests, all of them, what they do is it's kind of exactly like if there's a human population that has a certain susceptibility to a disease like Tay-Sachs. I know the Jews have that issue, and if they are only inbred and they are only with each other, that means every single one of them would get wiped out if that disease comes along. Instead, what we should all do as a human race is all mingle together so that we all have a greater diversity, and so we'll all have a chance. Somebody will have a chance of surviving when something like that comes along, when a challenge like that comes along. So, but this is kind of the same thing with the plants. If there's only one type of plant and there's one kind of insect that comes and attacks those plants, then what's going to happen is all those plants are going to get wiped out. So the farmers realizing this, what do? Of course, they don't reverse monoculture and then start regenerating the soil. What they're going to do is spray more chemicals onto the plants in order to kill all of those pests and those herbs. So we have pesticides and herbicides. One of our most common pesticides is glyphosate, and we spray it on everything. It's in pretty much every breakfast cereal you're eating. It's in pretty much every wrapped any foods that you're eating. Anything that has a wrapper on it, you're probably taking it in. And you gotta understand, when you hear the word, the suffix "side," it means kill. You should get that. You've heard the words homicide, suicide. To kill your man or to kill yourself. A pesticide and a herbicide will ultimately not only kill all of the pests and the herbs and every bit of the bacteria and fungi that gives the soil life that's left. It's going to kill you once it's inside of you. For example, the National Cancer Institute has successfully linked pesticides to leukemia, Hodgkin's lymphoma, and non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, as well as a lot of other cancers, actually. So this is just a few of them. As you can see on this picture, this is something you have to absolutely keep away from your children, because they are especially susceptible to having a lot of mental retardation, a lot of ADHD as a result of being exposed to this. And of course, autism is the hugest one. There's been a lot of corollary studies, but as you can imagine, it is a little challenging to fight Monsanto, the producer of glyphosate, because they have a lot of money and a lot of power. And anyway, yeah, it's not like it gets better either. You know how at this point you've seen the planes flying over the field spraying all of this stuff. You've seen all the tractors laying down all of these chemicals. Every one of these plants are getting ridiculous amounts of chemicals unless they're labeled organic. So what has to happen is, in order for the plants to even survive this massive chemical dosing, is that instead of deciding to use less chemicals, what do we do whenever we have a problem? We fix it with a band-aid, a temporary solution that will create another bigger problem later down the line, so that we don't have to admit that we're wrong. We could genetically modify our foods, and this is well known as GMOs, genetically modified organisms. Basically, scientists splicing the DNA of each and every one of the plants, and they've managed to do this for a large amount of our agriculture at this point. And what this is showing is that they're able to do this, and essentially it's in all of our daily foods. If you turn to the back of any of your products and you see corn oil, safflower oil, cottonseed oil, you see the right side of this picture, it's all GMO, all of it. We are eating GMOs every single day at this point. And well, there are a lot of people saying that it is safe. if we're being honest, me and virtually every natural doctor all agree this is absolutely not safe. In fact, many of us would say that this is a huge reason for the increase in allergies. Yeah, yes, it is challenging to study this. It's because many of the people like the food industry, like the pharmaceutical industry, who actually fund most of the research, would never allow for any of us to study what GMOs do on a population scale. So, yes, the jury is still out on whether or not GMOs are safe. Technically, they can be considered safe. But that's what the conventional doctor will tell you. I'm going to go ahead and for anyone who wants to believe me, believe me. But for anyone who doesn't, I don't care. You are putting foreign proteins in foreign DNA into your body, and you are modifying the work of God as if you are smarter than God, as if nature did not make, and as if you are smarter than nature itself. It is absolutely not going to be safe for us. Not a long shot. So, but you guys do what you will and eat what you will. I am only here to give you guys the facts on what has been established, and that's that we are eating GMOs every single day. Still, it's not as bad as what I'm going to jump into next, because this one is public knowledge and yet it is still very inconspicuous. Let's transition over to what I wasn't going to talk about in our first video. I remember how when I talked about carbohydrates, I mentioned specifically complex carbohydrates, fiber. But when people think about carbohydrates, a lot of times they think about sugary foods and drinks. And this is a good representation of what is not good for you to eat. I don't have to explain to you guys or to most people that this is junk food. This will kill you. I don't think that, but the thing is, I don't think you guys will probably understand the extent to which it will kill you, how fast it will kill you, and how much more energy you can derive from your body if you weren't gunking up your livers and overloading your brains and overexciting each and every one of the nerve cells, and again destroying your good bacteria with nothing but a bunch of simple carbohydrates like these sugars. Let me go into depth about this because this is a super important topic. Do you guys remember how I talked about how the food industry jumped at the chance to throw sugar in absolutely everything after Ansel Keys was able to show that, say, fat was saturated fat was the culprit for cardiovascular disease? It wasn't. It was a completely fudged study. But here's what they have been doing ever since then. They put sugar in everything. They add sugar. In other words, they will literally take refined white sugar and add it into every single thing because that's what's going to sell. The FDA is now demanding, as of 2008, that they place a little sign that on the back of the food label that shows added amounts of sugars. But until that has come, I want you guys to always check the back of everything. And what you have to do is take the net carbohydrates, subtract the fiber carbohydrates, and then you will have what is left as the simple carbohydrates that are going to jump into your bloodstream and spike your blood sugar and increase insulin resistance, and then likely give you gout and diabetes and tooth decay, etc., etc. Now, here's a list of all of the foods that you can find a bunch of added sugar into. Do you guys know that many doctors, they say that the maximum amount that you're supposed to have if you're, say, an adult, if you're, say, my age, which is 25, is about 30 grams. It should make up no more than 5% of our calories. And yet, you can go through that in one chocolate bar. You can go through that more than that in a single can of soda. You can go through most of that in a roll of sushi. Yes, sushi. A yogurt, like I was saying in the previous video, not the best source of probiotics simply because of its sugar content. Guys, when I was explaining in the other video, oh, even ketchup. Yeah, I was explaining in the other video about fats and proteins. I mentioned that there was such a thing as essential amino acids. Essential amino acids meaning if you don't make them, if you don't eat them, if you don't make them in your body, you've got to eat them in your diet. There are also things such as essential fats like the omega-3s and the omega-6s where you've got to eat them in your diet, preferably omega-3s. There is no such thing as an essential sugar. Our body makes all of the sugar we could possibly need. If we did not take in a single gram of sugar from the outside environment, our body would still be able to function perfectly. We used to do this for ages back in antiquity. So it really does throw out the idea out the window. Why are we able to do this? Because we have a liver that is overstressed by our sugar load, but it creates something known as gluconeogenesis. It literally means sugar new making, gluconeogenesis. And since we have a liver that's doing this, it means we don't need to take in any extra sugar. It's making all the sugar we can need in order to maintain our blood sugar levels. Okay, I'm going to list out to you guys the cycle of hunger, or what we now perceive as hunger in our modern society. We start the morning with a big old breakfast of I don't know, pancakes and waffles and things of that nature. And what happens is that we spike our blood sugars up like crazy. Our bodies have never adapted in history to be able to take in as much sugar as we are taking in now. We have no idea how to counter that. So when our blood sugar spikes, what our pancreas is going to do is it's going to secrete that peptide hormone that I spoke about. You know it. It's called insulin. It's going to secrete a ridiculous amount of it, though, so much, because it's like, whoa, what the hell? I've never seen this much sugar before. How is this possible? And so it releases a whole bunch of this insulin. And what this does is that it will drop those blood sugar levels so incredibly low because we release so much insulin. It will bring all that insulin into the cells, and it's going to bring our blood sugar levels so low that we are going to feel so exhausted. It's going to drop it below our baseline level. And because this is what you feel when you have that lull of energy, that low crash in the middle of the day, or every time you drink a Red Bull, you will feel a crash. I used to do this all the time back in Colombia. You feel a crash like 2 hours later. And what do you do when you have a problem and you want to fix it immediately? Instead of finding a natural solution to it and going back to what caused the problem in the first place, lack of energy, we are just going to repeat the same mistake again. We're going to take in another hit of sugar, which is going to spike our blood sugar again and give us another big insulin boost. We spend our entire days going up and down and up and down and up and down through this exact same cycle. And this is what eventually leads to insulin resistance, or we have diabetes. It also leads to a lot of weight gain, you guys. There's another cycle where if you are eating a whole bunch of sugar, because we are bringing so much more than what the liver could possibly hope to metabolize, because a lot of it is fructose. Fructose is toxic at these levels, and so once we bring it in, the liver is going to turn it all into fat. It's going to put all that fat in the adipose tissue. There's going to be way more in it than we could possibly handle. The adipose tissues are fat cells. Our fat cells are going to secrete a hormone known as leptin. Leptin is a satiety hormone. It tells our body, I am done eating. I am not hungry anymore. But because we are just putting in fat cell after putting in fat after fat after fat after fat and stuffing the heck out of our fat cells, we're secreting so much of this leptin hormone, so much of it, that eventually our brain, the ventromedial hypothalamus, the part of the brain that senses the leptin, it just doesn't sense it anymore. So you're just like, well, okay, well, I can't feel the satiety hormone, so I must still be hungry. So what do? You eat more. You eat more sugars, preferably, and then you go and you start the cycle all over again. Guys, this is an addiction. I need you guys to understand the extent to which this is an addiction. The sugar has been shown in a multitude of studies to have the exact same effects on what is known as the nucleus accumbens of the brain. This is the pleasure center in the dopamine reward system that basically tells your brain, do it again, do whatever you just did again because that felt so good. You feel it whenever you have sex. You feel it whenever you eat something that tastes good. You feel it whenever somebody tells you I love you or says thank you. You feel it whenever you have a big, super great achievement, like you won a race or you got an A on a test. It's saying that was good. Do it again. The thing is, we wear the hell out of this system through our sugar, and as you can see on a fMRI, I believe that's what the scan is. Yeah, you can see that there is far more activity in this nucleus accumbens in sugar than in cocaine. Yeah, it is just as addictive. You don't realize it is because you don't think that there's that much sugar in every single thing that you eat, but it's there. They add it because they know that that's the only way you're going to go and buy it. You're not going to eat something that doesn't have sugar. So yes, you're going to have to be more mindful of it. Because you guys, this is absolutely dangerous to us in every single way. Yes, we know that sugar will transform into fat, and that's the bare minimum of our problems. The massive inflammation that this is going to cause is going to damage everything from the small vessels in our eyes that give us diabetic retinopathy to our kidneys, the nephrons in our kidneys that will actually end up helping us to filter out any of the excess ions in water and stuff. So this is what causes diabetic nephropathy. Sorry, it's a lot of sciencey words. And as I told you, that now people think that having a fatty liver comes from having a bunch of beers and eating a lot of beer. I said drinking beer. It can come from having lots of sugar too. So there's also a non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. I'm not going to explain the biochemistry here, but that beer, you also have a sugar gut as much as you have a beer gut. Trust me. And don't even get me started on cardiovascular disease, the tooth decay, all of those the fact that you can't concentrate on anything especially on anything that's just like goal oriented. I've had this problem when I was eating sugars where literally my mind just gets sidetracked by even the slightest things. I can't bring my focus and go into a flow state as quickly as I want. That's all just your brain being overexcited by sugars instead of being calmed by things like B vitamins that come from vegetables, that come from nuts, that come from real food, not some refined ass nonsense that has been put into our foods to addict us. Still, there are other factors that you're going to need to consider whenever you are selecting your foods, and that is, well, additives. So many additives. There's no way that I could cover the huge list of all of them in just this one little video, but consider that these top 8, these are the biggest ones, not including all the anti-foaming agents and food colorings and, emulsifiers and those anti-caking agents and the glazing agents and the food thickeners and the stabilizers, the humectants, blah, blah, blah. Just focus on how MSG is a well-known neurotoxin. Aspartame is one of those artificial sweeteners that is also the same. A lot of sugar alcohols also have a lot of cause a lot of digestive distress as well. So don't think that they're better than any of the regular sugar what is it, like refined sugars. Then there's also, of course, the GMOs we just covered. But high fructose corn syrup, yeah, do you remember how I told you that that is absolutely toxic to your liver and pretty much every other part of your body? Do not eat it. It will kill you. If you've ever watched the Boondocks, there's an episode in the Boondocks, I think it's like season 1, episode 15. Yes, what Huey is saying is completely true. He was ahead of his time. High fructose corn syrup, read about it. It will kill you. Okay, so I lied a bit. At the beginning of the first video, I said I wasn't going to tell you what to and what not to eat. So, and I kind of did in just like a second ago. But all I'm saying is that I know it's going to be very hard to decide what is going to be best to eat. I basically just told you that all of our foods are pretty much crap at this point. And it does not make the choice of how to be healthy easy. So what can we do? Well, here's one option. Yes, we can absolutely buy organic. The thing is, though, the amount of travel time that it takes for most farms who are organic to travel, say, across countries a lot of time, all the way across the country to bring us our organic food adds to a lot of the greenhouse gases. And honestly, it still isn't very a very sustainable way to support the earth. What we want is to be supporting local farmers markets that are, of course, they have the same standards of raising organically grown vegetables with none of those pesticides, none of those herbicides. Perhaps promote permaculture farms. That's the opposite of monoculture. Have a diversity in their soil, and they are doing everything that they can to bring that into their local community. If we give them our money, they will multiply. That I'm down to support that. Even so, pretty much most of American soil, whether you're buying organic or from a farmer's market, has been absolutely destroyed. You have to understand that that's even pollen traveling across from one plant to another across miles on winds can carry all of these pesticides, these herbicides onto other places that haven't been contaminated quite yet. It's called cross-pollination, cross-contamination. So this is actually the result. Our food is not at all what it once was at all. We barely have any of the nutrients that are supposed to be in our food that we would have had many years ago. But so our food, no matter where we get it anymore, is just completely lifeless relative to that. All the years of chemicals being sprayed on it, the years of monoculturing, the years of destroying the very life force of it. And if you think you can go abroad to get your food and ask it to be imported, I have bad news for you. The Earth Summit also agreed that all of the countries are being hit by this. Of course, North America, we're the worst, but everyone is feeling the weight of the mineral depletion of the soil. This is just 1992. Even the U.S. Department of Agriculture has admitted that it has gotten far worse since then, and it has only continued to get worse, while glyphosate levels have definitely risen every single year. There is the idea of supplementation and smart supplementation. Now, guys, I want to say to you guys, just eat as much fruits and vegetables and you will be fine. But that's just not the world that we live in anymore. Now even I have to admit that I must supplement. So if I'm going to supplement, I'm going to supplement smart. I'm going to select whatever brands have the absolute most bioavailability, that means that it's absorbed the most. Whatever is going to give me the most bang for my buck, whatever is plant-based, whatever has been done with like absolutely no cruelty, whatever is going to be completely GMP approved. That means good manufacturing practices, and they make sure there's not even any toxicity within 500 feet of their facilities. That's how stringent their standards are, and I have found all of that in the Isotonics brand. That's basically the world's leading nutraceutical brand, and a nutraceutical is basically a plant-based pharmaceutical. In other words, not throwing pills down your throat. These are actually powders, believe it or not. So already you just took out all the dyes and binders and the fillers and the coatings and the shellfish and the talc and all the hydrogenated oils that you find in other pills. This is all a powder from plants that you mix with a certain amount of water, and it actually will make it highly absorbable, isotonic. It's literally like taking a liquid IV, how fast it gets absorbed into you. I remember way back in like 2006, 17, when I was doing all of my kicks and running like crazy. I was training my ass off. This is when I was still playing cello on YouTube, and my leg buckled under me like I never felt before, because I never took care of my body before I had my spiritual awakening, and I started going crazy and realizing I'm a martial artist. I just fell over, and all the MSM and turmeric and ginger in the world would not help, but one of these isotonic products helped, and I had been hooked ever since. They're actually a stellar brand. Of course, there are many other nutraceutical brands that I favor. NutriClean is also an incredibly great one. There are many of them, but like I know that Transition Lifestyles, they have great ones as well. But anyway, I digress. The point is, I don't ever say supplement only, because supplementation is a supplement to a healthy lifestyle. We still do need to get life energy from food, because supplements don't have life energy. That said, they may have those minerals and vitamins that we aren't getting in our daily lives. So we should consider them, and if we're going to consider them, we must consider the highest quality, because there are so many shitty ones that actually have more toxins in them. They actually serve those hydrogenated oils that cause trans fats in children's vitamins, those Flintstone vitamins. Can you believe that? Those are the things that cause heart disease. Those are the things I tell you guys to avoid. They're in all those cookies and all that, trans fats. So yeah, definitely stay away from that. And if you are going to supplement at all, please put some focus on just getting even a basic Isotonics multivitamin. Again, you're going to get all of the vitamins and minerals at a 100% rate, like over 100% RDA. So you're going to get more than what's even recommended, and it's going to actually absorb instead of being pooped out like most pills are. Don't waste your money on that nonsense from Centrum, because I don't know if you've ever been in a hospital like I have. I watch nurses take the pills that have not absorbed out of the poop in the pans of the patients. We call them bedpan bullets, because none of it actually gets into the person's system. It all just gets pooped out. You threw your money away. But these minerals are extremely important, because as minerals go down, your diseases go up. And you'll notice that in heart conditions, chronic bronchitis, asthma, tinnitus, and bone deformities, what's the one minerals that is in every single one of these? Magnesium. I said this in the first video. That is the one mineral that I think every single person needs to be on. An isotonics magnesium, a bioavailable form of magnesium. If we have magnesium, we can beat all of these conditions. And this is just a bare minimum. Weight loss, insulin resistance, like ADHD, stress and anxiety, depression, and magnesium. So, okay, enough of my tirade. Let's first just start by showing gratitude and acknowledging all that Mother Earth has given us, and that we are truly in her womb, in her grasp. She is helping us at all turns, and we are doing nothing but kind of trampling all over her with our practices to show our gratitude for it. But we can put our steps back on the right path by just acknowledging that she is our cosmic mother. And finally, I ask that you give thanks, true gratitude, prayer towards our earth and everything that it provides you with every single meal. Please add your intention and energy upon it, and love it, and thank it for making its journey past all of the shit that it has probably had to go through, so that it can give you sustenance, give you energy, give you the ability to focus on your life, even though its life was taken. I know that this is challenging to understand, but the food was a living thing. It had consciousness going through it. It had spirit of God going through it at once. If you add your intention to it, it's no different than if somebody, you do something for somebody and that person says, thank you. That it makes you more inclined to want to do it again. What if they express huge thanks? Yo, I love you. I can't believe you did this for me. Thank you so much. Then the dopamine release that you get with gratitude, it really rewires your brain. It makes you want to go and do that 100 times. It's a high almost. And that is the same way that your earth and your vegetables and your food will act towards you. If you bless it before you assimilate it into your body, it will give you that much more energy. I promise. I know that it's not scientific, but there are some things that you cannot put under a microscope. You must simply sense into and feel. This is one of them. Alright guys, that covers our Earth Part 2 video. I really hope that you guys enjoyed it. I'm hoping that I'm convincing you guys at this point that we are all avatars. I don't know if you ever watched the show Avatar: The Last Airbender. It is a personal favorite of mine, as well as The Legend of Korra. But yes, we are comprised of all of the 4 elements, and we have now covered water and earth. The purpose of this is to get us into the idea that we are not only connected to each other, but the universe around us. And if we can better appreciate this, we can make more conscious steps towards not only healing ourselves from within, but being that light that heals everything without. So thank you very much for taking the time to listen to this video, and I deeply appreciate this. So look forward to the next elements that I cover, and that's air. Have a wonderful day, you guys, and be well and be healthy.